So today is bench press day, but your shoulders feel like absolute hot garbage. You don't want to take time off from the gym, so we're going to break through the different variations you should consider to allow you to continue to push your strength forward while you let that nasty shoulder calm down. So the first variation that I think of, especially in individuals dealing with AC joint pain when it comes to the bench press, is to go to a close grip bench press, because research has shown that the close grip bench press actually puts significantly less force through the joint than when we go with a wider grip variation. So typically I'm trying to stay shoulder width or just barely slightly wider than that when individuals are dealing with acromioclavicular joint pain. The next thing I want to think about is individuals that don't tolerate the shoulder being an extension, the elbow being behind the body, which is probably the most common complaint I hear as a physical therapist, because when we're in that shoulder extended position, a lot of the structures on the front side of the shoulder are getting stretched out. So if you have a pec strain, if you're having biceps tendon issues, or maybe you're having a strain of your subscapularis, one of the four rotator cuff muscles, the extended shoulder position is going to stretch and irritate those tissues a little bit. I also find that a lot of individuals that have shoulder instability don't like shoulder extension. So I've got a number of exercises that you should really consider if that's you. First, and probably my favorite variation to go to here for bodybuilders, is to go to an incline bench press, because when we go incline versus flat, the shoulder won't go into as much shoulder extension. If instead we're a little bit more strength focused, I might think about different variations, such as the floor press, where the elbow doesn't go past the body at all because it runs into the floor, but is still a great variation for building up your bench press strength overall. Another one of my favorite variations here is going to be the board press. I like using bench blocks because it allows me to not have to have a spotter holding the boards, but whatever variation of the board bench press you do, what we're gonna think of doing is, as the shoulder irritability calms down and we're tolerating more range of motion, we can go from more boards to less boards, so we start training through more and more range of motion as we rehab that shoulder. We can also be thinking of band presses when it comes to shoulder extension intolerant pain in the bench press, because the banded bench press is going to see less weight at the bottom and more weight as we lock out. So this tends to be a little bit later stage of a rehab exercise, because we're still going to be training through full range of motion. We'll just have a little bit lighter of a load there in the bottom position. We also, with the bench press, need to consider that when we're doing a barbell bench press, our hands are locked into this internally rotated position as we hold the bar. So a common thing I see is that athletes that have a posterior rotator cuff issue, where those muscles are strained and overworked, they don't like that internally rotated position. So we can really easily switch them to where they're doing something such as a neutral grip dumbbell bench press, or we're grabbing a football bar where we have that neutral grip as well there, and we can train through more range of motion and have a little less tension placed on those posterior shoulder muscles. The final variation that I really like to use in those individuals that are just extremely load intolerant, the shoulder is just really in a gnarly situation, but we still want to be training as hard as we can to try to push that bench press up, is the JM press. So the JM press has been used by powerlifters for years. It is a great exercise to help build up your bench press. It really targets the triceps a ton while still allowing you to move relatively heavy weights, just not as heavy as you would with any of those other variations that we've talked about today. So it's a great builder for the bench press when you can't do any of those other variations that we discussed. So I hope that gives you some ideas and guidelines for getting back into the gym instead of just taking time off and watching your bench press gains go down the drain. If you're looking for medical providers that understand how important getting to the gym is for your life, this isn't just exercise, like this is what we do, then I want you to click the link in my bio here. Check out an Onward physical therapy location near you. Everyone in our organization is fitness forward. We are people that live and breathe the gym, and we're going to find ways to help keep you in there versus telling you just rest.